Your water bill went up again this year. So did your energy bill. If you live near a major British river, it probably smells different than it did 20 years ago. None of this is accidental. In 1989, Margaret Thatcher sold the water industry in England and Wales to private owners. The companies were handed a clean balance sheet, zero debt. Today, those same companies carry over £60 billion in debts between them. Thames Water alone, serving a quarter of the country, carries close to £19 billion in debt. Something happened between debt-free and £19 billion, and it didn't happen to the shareholders. In 2006, an Australian investment firm called Macquarie bought Thames Water. Debt at the point of purchase was about £3.5 billion. By 2017, when Macquarie sold its final stake, the debt had grown to £11 billion. In 2006 to 2007 alone, Thames Water paid out £656 million to shareholders. That year, the company made £241 million in profit. They paid out 2.5 times what they earned. Over 11 years, Macquarie's consortium extracted £1.1 billion in dividends and shareholder loan interest. When Macquarie sold up, it walked away with £1.35 billion. The debt did not sit with Macquarie. It sat with Thames Water, loaded onto the pipes, the treatment works, the reservoirs that 16 million people depend on every day. The regulator confirmed throughout this period that Thames Water maintained investment-grade credit ratings. On paper, everything looked fine. What it meant in practice was that a Victorian network of pipes already stretched beyond its limits was now also carrying a debt it had never been designed to service. Macquarie was gone. The debt stayed, and the debt has to be paid by someone. Thames Water is not the exception. It is just the one that became impossible to ignore. In 2024, sewage spills across England and Wales reached more than 3.6 million hours, setting a new record. In 2025, the regulator fined Thames Water a record £123 million for sewage discharges and for paying dividends it had no business paying while the infrastructure decayed beneath it. In the regulator's own words, the company had failed to build, maintain, and operate adequate infrastructure while paying undeserved dividends to shareholders. By mid-2025, the debt stood at close to £19 billion. The company needed an emergency £3 billion loan to keep operating. KKR, an American private equity firm, spent months circling as a potential buyer, then quietly walked away. The government's environment secretary called the water system failing. When the rescue loan was approved, the interest was structured to be recovered through customer bills, not Macquarie, not the executives who collected their bonuses a decade ago and moved on, but by the people paying the water bill. This is the model. Buy something people cannot live without, borrow heavily to pay for it, load the debt onto the asset, not onto yourself, extract dividends, sometimes more than the asset is actually earning, then exit. Leave the debt behind for whoever is still there when it comes due. It works because the asset is captive. A company that sells bad products loses customers. A water company that mismanages itself for 30 years sends a higher bill to the same customers because there is nowhere else for them to go. The model does not merely tolerate that captivity, it is built on it. This channel takes its name from a map drawn in 1916 by two officials who divided the Muslim world between British and French spheres of influence. The cost of that arrangement, the arbitrary borders, the suppressed sovereignty, the engineered instability, fell on the populations who lived there. The benefits went to the empires that drew the line through resource extraction, military contracts, and weapons experimentation. Thames Water is a domestic version of the same transaction. The profits extracted by Macquarie and its successors did not fall from the sky. They came from underfunding maintenance, loading debt onto an essential public asset and relying on the regulator and ultimately the customer to absorb the consequences. The gains went up, the bill came down to different people in the same direction it has always travelled. Last week, we traced this through BlackRock and the Federal Reserve, and we linked that to the East India Company. The mechanism is not new and it is not complicated. What changes is the name on the letterhead and the country where the bill lands. Privatise the gains, socialise the losses. This is not a slogan. A sequence that has been running for 300 years, and that your water bill is the latest installment of. The world is complex, the noise is deliberate, the spectrum cuts through it.